Do you want to see never before seen footage of my groundwork and the foundation of my emergency stop? Well, stick around. You aren't going to want to miss this video. This is the stuff I have never shown before. You don't want to miss it. Welcome back to Becky Amio Horse Training, and this is LR Roddy Blue Hancock. We call him Otis, and he was originally purchased through the Hancock Moo Valentine Driftwood production sale in 2021, and this was part of his groundwork. Now, if you've ever wondered how I teach stop, or how I get these horses soft in the face, or how I can get them stopped with my emergency stop, how I set up all of the cues for the foundation of everything that I've ever done with the Colt, well, this is it right here. It's called bidding them around, and it is really tough to watch, you guys. I'm going to tell you right now, it's hard to watch. It's a hard session to have with a horse. I do not show this very often. This is something I only show to owners and colleagues and personal friends, and I'm sharing it with you guys now. And the reason is because I want you guys to be safe. And I'm tired of the wool being pulled over your eyes by clinicians that say, oh, you just do a one rein stop and you pull their head around. Well, I tell you what, when you got a horse this size, there is nobody that's pulling his head around when he decides he wants to take off or he wants to start doing something naughty. So we bid him around. Now, I will tell you that in my early years of training, I was taught to bit horses around. And we would tie their heads around and we'd leave them in a stall, or we'd leave them in the round pen, or leave them in the arena and go away for a couple of hours, and we'd never come back again, you know, and finally come back, untie them. And I just never saw any use for it. Never had a use for it. Thought it was inhumane. Never did it. And I would ground drive all my colts. Well, I got to a point where I didn't have a fast enough, well, let's face it, I never did have a fast enough release on my colts when ground driving. There's a point there where you want to, they turn and follow through on the rail, and you can't let that lunge line slide fast enough through that stirrup to let them release and tell them that they did a good job. So here we are tying their head around, and we are interacting with them. We are sending them hard with a flag. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys. You can kill them. You can flip them over. They can break their neck. You have to know what kind of horse you have. You have to know how hard to send them. And I go in hard and fast on these guys and send them and send them and send them and teach them to follow his nose. But here's the thing. You have to have timing. You have to have feel. And when you ask this horse to whoa, there is a very specific way that you want him to stop when you ask him to whoa. And that first way that I ask them to stop is with that hind end facing me. And now you're probably going, I don't ever want the hind end facing me, Becky. I don't want it. I understand. I get it. Now, we've already made friends with this horse's hind end in his corral, and he's real gentle. By the time we get to this point, we know our horse pretty well, okay? This is not just, oh, this horse is, you know, just come in out of pasture and never had human contact. Obviously, he's pretty gentle and safe if we've got fly boots on him. So when we first go in and we want that hind end facing us and we tell him a hard whoa, and if he doesn't want to stand there, we keep sending him until he stops. And once he stops, then we will go in and pet and rub on that hind end. Now, what's the reason for petting and rubbing on that hind end? Well, in the wild, when they are attacked from behind, what happens first? They get attacked from the behind, and the animal that's attacking them is going to eat their hind end out, right? That's the softest tissue in the body. That's what they're going for. So we're going for that first, to pet and rub on that horse before we go to his head. Pet and rub on his head. Make sure he allows us to touch him all over, and then we're going to release the pressure. So he has to know that when those feet stop moving, that's when he gets a release. He doesn't get a release when the feet are still moving in a circle, when he's spinning around in circles. He gets a release When he drops and lowers that head, he softens in that rein that's tied back to the D-ring, and he's allowed me to touch him all over. So this is one of my lie detector tests that I do maybe 3 times in a horse's life. Once around the middle of groundwork after they've worn the bit a few times. Once the day right before I put the first ride on them. So in their groundwork before first ride, they're going to have this done again to them. And then they'll have it done one more time, maybe in the spring of their 3-year-old year as a refresher when I go to get back on them, okay? And that's the most that ever happens. Now, see the way that horse reacted as he realized that pressure on his face? Look at that. Imagine being on his back, whether you're in the round pen or out in the pasture or around other horses, and you're on his back, and that's the way he reacts when you pull that rein around. And there are people that are out there doing that. And how do you recover from that? You are already starting off on the wrong foot when you have a horse that's reacting like that while you are up in the tack. So that's why we call these lie detector tests. We want to see what this sucker is going to do when we put him under extreme, severe pressure. We want to make damn sure he makes good choices when he's put in situations, because he can kill himself and he can kill us, right? And we've done a series of lie detector tests on him up to this point. We're pretty sure we know how he's going to react. And like I've told you before, every single one of them's different. You'll kind of get a feel for how hard you can push on every single one of them, okay? So since the horse is capable of learning something the very first time he is exposed to it, shown it, whether it's good or bad, we want to make damn sure we do this correct the first time. And that will prevent wrecks once we get up on their back. Now, I've been asking him to whoa. I've been telling him to whoa, and he's slowing down, but he's not bringing his feet to a complete stop, and he's not setting up the way I want him to. So I'm going to keep sending him until he stops with that hind end facing me. Ideally, I want that hind end to face me, and I want him turning around and looking at me with both eyes. I want him to be able to see me, because when I'm up in the tack, I'm going to bend his head around. And if you guys have watched any of my videos of me working the emergency stop, you see that I bend their head around, I hold that rein to my thigh, and I pet and rub all over their face and all over their butt and make sure they're okay with it and make sure they're down regulated before I release that rein and send them again. So this is a perfect example of how I want him to respond when I say whoa. I need to be able to approach him hard and fast, because he has to know that I'm coming to rescue him. I'm going to rub and pet on him. I'm going to give him some relief. Okay, I never approach my horses hard and fast and then thump on him. Okay, that's just not acceptable. All right. He's got to know that when he's in a vulnerable position, I'm going to come and help him, all right? And so when I do these sessions, they get 2 reps. The first one is relatively loose and got a slight bend in their neck and face. The second rep is hard and tight and fast, and I push really, really hard with this flag, okay? So I've been asking him whoa for a little bit now, and he's still wanting to move his feet. So I just go back to sending him again. That's all you have to do. You make the good stuff easy and the bad stuff hard. You make them work harder, okay? And I can stop and ask him to whoa. And the thing is it's his responsibility to stop in relation to where I'm standing. In the very beginning, we can help them and stop and move to the position where we want them to ultimately set their feet in the beginning. But there's a point there where when we say whoa, his butt needs to be facing us, and they will figure it out, you guys, I promise. And just like that, he's got it figured out, and he is holding his feet still while I approach him and release the pressure, release that hold on that rein, rub and pet all over him. And he knows now that I'm going to be the one to rescue him when he gets in a bind, you guys. So with that, I'm going to call it a day. I want to send a special thank you out to Ben Bainbridge and Aaron Crawford for bringing Otis to me to start and trusting me with their horse all the way from Bellevue, Idaho. And I also want to send a special thank you out to the Adult Onset Horsemanship podcast for encouraging me to share my techniques and my groundwork with all of you guys, check out Daniel Dolphin Horsemanship. Thanks a bunch for watching. Have a great day.